The Elder's Warning. Long ago, during a winter when the snow was deep and the nights were long, a group of young hunters sat beside a fire near the edge of a spruce forest. Their camp stood beside a frozen river that curved quietly through the northern land. The stars shone brightly above them, and the cold air carried the smell of spruce and wood smoke. An elder sat with them near the fire. The hunters simply called him
Matthew,
a word that means hunter. The name suited him well. He had lived many winters on the land and had spent most of his life hunting, traveling, and learning the ways of the forest. His hair was white like frost, and his eyes reflected the firelight as he watched the young men repair their snowshoes and sharpen their knives. The young hunters were preparing to leave before sunrise to check their snares and search for rabbits along the willow ridges. It had been a difficult winter, and many snares had been empty. One of the young hunters spoke first. "Grandfather," he said, "the animals are scarce this winter. We walked far today and found nothing." Another hunter nodded and added, "Our families are beginning to worry. If the rabbits do not return soon, we will have trouble feeding everyone." The elder slowly nodded and stared into the fire for a moment before speaking. "Winter has always tested our people,"
Matthew,
said calmly. "Hunger comes and goes like the wind across the snow. But hunger also tests something else." The young hunters listened closely. "What does it test?" one of them asked. The elder lifted his eyes from the fire and looked toward the dark forest beyond the camp. "It tests the balance inside a person." The wind moved softly through the spruce trees as he continued. "There is something that lives in the forest," Massive said quietly. "It is not an animal. It is not a man. It comes when hunger grows strong and people begin to forget who they are." The young hunters shifted uneasily. "What is it called?" one of them asked. The elder spoke the name slowly and carefully. "It is called..." He allowed the words to settle into the quiet night. "That name means the one who lives where there is hunger." The youngest hunter frowned slightly. "Does it attack people?"
Matthew
shook his head. "No," he said. "That is not its way. It does not hunt like a wolf. It does not chase people through the trees." The fire cracked softly as sparks drifted upward into the dark sky. "It waits," the elder continued. "It watches hunters who return empty-handed. It listens when people begin to worry about food." Another hunter leaned forward. "What does it do then?"
Matthew
looked directly at him. "It whispers." The young men glanced nervously toward the forest. "It places thoughts into the minds of those who are weak with hunger," the elder said. "It tells them they deserve more than others. It tells them to take what does not belong to them." The wind moved through the spruce branches again, and the forest beyond the fire seemed darker. "Sometimes a hunter hears those whispers,"
Matthew
continued. "And sometimes that hunter listens." One of the young men swallowed nervously. "What happens to someone who listens?" The elders stared into the fire again before answering. "First their thoughts change," he said. "Then their heart changes. And finally the person themselves begins to change." The young hunters sat quietly for a moment. Finally the oldest among them asked, "How do we stop it?"
Matthew
smiled gently. "You do not fight it with weapons. You defeat it by remembering who you are." He looked at each young hunter one by one. "You share food when you have it. You respect the animals and the land. And when hunger comes, you do not let it turn your heart against your people." The fire burned lower as the night deepened. Before the young hunters left to sleep, the elder gave them one final warning. "When winter grows long and the animals are scarce," he said, "be careful with your thoughts. The forest listens. And that is when walks quietly between the trees."